What happens when a single glance ignites a forbidden obsession? I'm just the nanny, caring for his daughter, but his ravenous, illicit stares set my skin ablaze in ways I can't resist. The Austin, Texas sun was merciless, scorching the windows of the sprawling suburban mansion where I worked. My name is Sophia Wilson. I'm 24, and for the past 8 months, I've been the nanny for Nathan Clark's 5-year-old daughter, Eliza. Nathan is a successful architect, a man with sharp cheekbones, dark hair, and storm gray eyes that seem to see right through me. His wife, Catherine, is cold and distant, always jetting off for her marketing career. I live in their guest wing, always on call for Eliza's needs. But lately, I felt Nathan's needs pulling me in, too. It began with small things. His gazes lingered longer than they should. I'd feel them when I leaned over to read to Eliza, or when I brushed my hair in the living room mirror. His eyes traced the curve of my neck, slid to my hips, and each time, my heart pounded harder. I told myself it was my imagination. Nathan was married, 12 years my senior, and my boss. But when he said my name, Sophia, his voice was velvet, stroking my skin. The first real moment came in August. I was in the kitchen, wearing a light sundress that clung to my body in the heat. My curls were piled in a messy bun, my bare feet cool against the tile. I was slicing peaches for Eliza when Nathan walked in, fresh from a run. His gray tank was soaked with sweat, hugging every muscle of his chest and shoulders. He stopped and our eyes locked. This time, he didn't look away. His gaze roamed slowly over my lips, my bare shoulders, the hem of my dress barely covering my thighs. The air between us thickened. "Hot out there," he said, his voice rough, like he was fighting something deeper than the summer haze. He reached for a glass of water, his fingers grazing mine as he took it from my hand. The touch was a spark, igniting something inside me. I mumbled something about Eliza waiting and stepped back, but he moved closer. "Sophia," he said, and there was something new in his tone, something dangerous. His hand brushed my wrist, and my body shivered. "You're always in such a hurry." I should have walked away. I should have reminded him of Catherine, of Eliza, of the fact that I was just the nanny. But his thumb slid along the inside of my wrist, and I was undone. "Nathan," I whispered, my voice trembling. His eyes darkened, and in an instant, his lips crashed into mine. The kiss was a tempest, fierce, unrelenting. His hands gripped my waist, pulling me against him, and I felt the heat of his body through my thin dress. My fingers tangled in his damp hair, tasting salt and desire. He pressed me against the kitchen counter, and my legs weakened. His hand slid lower, squeezing my hips, and I let out a soft moan as his lips found my neck, leaving a trail of fire on my skin. We sprang apart when Eliza's voice echoed from the living room. My heart thundered as I smoothed my dress, and Nathan stepped back, his breathing heavy. "This shouldn't have happened," he said, but his eyes said otherwise. I nodded, but I knew it was only the beginning. The next few weeks were agony. Catherine returned from another trip, but her presence only sharpened the tension. She was icy with Nathan, and I saw him clench his jaw when she brushed him off. Then there were the moments we were alone, his hand grazing mine as we passed dishes at dinner, or his whispered, "You're stunning," in the hallway when Catherine was out of earshot. Every touch was like playing with fire, and I couldn't stop. One evening, Catherine left for another conference, and Eliza was at a friend's sleepover. Nathan asked me to stay to discuss Eliza's schedule. I knew it was a lie, but I went to his study anyway. He stood by the window, a glass of whiskey in hand, his shirt unbuttoned just enough to reveal tanned skin. The lamplight carved his features, and my throat went dry. "Sophia," he said, setting the glass down, "I can't get you out of my head." I knew I should leave. He was married. But my body moved on its own, stepping toward him. "We can't," I said, my voice weak. He closed the distance in one stride, his hands cupping my face. "Tell me you don't want this," he whispered, his lips so close I could feel his breath. I couldn't lie. This time, the kiss was slower, deeper, like he was savoring every second. My hands trembled as I unbuttoned his shirt, my fingers gliding over his warm skin. He lifted me, and I wrapped my legs around his waist as he carried me to the leather sofa in the corner. My dress hit the floor, and his hands explored every curve, leaving heat in their wake. I arched into him, my nails digging into his back as his lips trailed lower, across my collarbone, my stomach, and then lower still. "You're driving me insane," he murmured, his voice hoarse with want. His fingers teased, stroking me where I craved it most, and I bit my lip to keep from crying out. Every touch was precise, like he knew my body better than I did. The tension inside me built, and when I finally shattered, his name tore from my lips. But he didn't stop. He pulled me closer, and I felt his hardness against me. My hands found his belt, and in moments, there were no barriers between us. We moved together, our bodies finding a rhythm that was desperate and perfect. The sofa creaked beneath us, but I heard nothing but his ragged breaths and my own heartbeat. Each thrust pushed him closer to the edge, and when we fell over it together, it felt like the world dissolved. We lay entwined, our breaths slowing. His fingers traced my hair, and for a moment, I let myself imagine this could be real. But reality crashed back. He was married. Catherine could return any moment. Eliza needed me. This was wrong, yet it felt so right. The weeks that followed were a torturous dance. We tried to keep our distance, but the pull was too strong. Every glance reignited the fire. his eyes catching mine across the dining table, his fingers brushing my arm as we cleaned up after Eliza's bedtime. Once, when Catherine was home, Nathan pulled me into the pantry under the guise of helping with boxes. The door clicked shut, and his hands were on me, his lips whispering, "You're my weakness," against mine. We were careful, silent, but that quick, frantic moment only deepened my addiction to him. Catherine's suspicion grew. Her glances turned sharper, her comments biting. One evening, I overheard her arguing with Nathan in their bedroom, her voice low and venomous. "You think I don't see how you look at her?" she hissed. My stomach twisted, guilt and fear warring with the ache I felt for him. I knew we were on borrowed time. Then came the night that changed everything. It was late September, and Catherine was away again, this time for a week-long summit. Eliza was asleep upstairs, the house quiet except for the hum of the air conditioning. I was in the living room, folding Eliza's clothes, when Nathan appeared in the doorway. He wore a dark sweater that hugged his frame, his eyes burning with something I hadn't seen before: resolve. "Sophia," he said, his voice low, "we need to talk." I set the clothes down, my hands trembling. "About what?" I asked, though I already knew. He stepped closer, his presence filling the room. "About us, about this." He gestured between us, his jaw tight. "I know it's wrong. I know I'm married, but I've never felt this way before. Not with Catherine, not with anyone." My heart pounded, torn between hope and dread. "Nathan, we can't keep doing this. Catherine knows something, and Eliza. She deserves better." He flinched, but his eyes didn't waver. "I know," he said, "but every time I try to stop, I see you, and it's like nothing else matters." He reached out, his fingers brushing my cheek, and I leaned into his touch despite myself. "We're playing with fire," I whispered. "Then let it burn," he said, and his lips were on mine again. This kiss was different, raw, desperate, like he was staking a claim. His hand slid under my shirt, warm against my skin, and I gasped as he lifted me onto the arm of the couch. My fingers fumbled with his sweater, pulling it over his head, and his mouth found the sensitive spot below my ear, making me shiver. The world narrowed to the heat of his body, the urgency of his touch, the way he murmured my name like a vow. We didn't make it to the bedroom. The living room floor became our sanctuary, a tangle of limbs and whispered promises. His hands were everywhere, teasing, worshiping, driving me to the edge again and again. When we finally collapsed, spent and breathless, I felt both alive and terrified. This wasn't just desire anymore. It was something deeper, something that could destroy us both.
If you loved my story of forbidden passion that shattered every boundary, hit that thumbs up and subscribe for more. Drop a comment. What would you do in my shoes? Stay or walk away? Tell me below and stay tuned for more sizzling stories.